Hi everyone, my name's Brandon. I'm here with Madison and Josh, and we're doing this week's weekly reflections. The reading today is from As Bill Sees It, page 8. Is sobriety all we are to expect of a spiritual awakening? No, sobriety is only a bare beginning. It is only the first gift of the first awakening. If more gifts are to be received, our awakening has to go on. As it does go on, we find that bit by bit we can discard the old life, the one that did not work. For a new life can and does work under any conditions whatever. Regardless of...
As long as I am progressing in my life, in my sobriety, and I'm not taking steps backwards, that I can have more awakenings or more varieties of a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
But I can't have those if I'm not sober.
Yeah.
And once I get back into my old behaviors, which for me it's really hard to distinguish the two sometimes, where some things I know, like, okay, this is probably not what I need to be doing, but the obsession on that subject is so intense that I can't break away from it. And then there's other subjects where I'm like, oh, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to go shoot heroin today. I'm going to stay away from that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to steal anything. But it's the intention and the effort for me, which sometimes no effort is given.
Yeah.
And I feel that. I feel that wholly, yeah.
Cool.
I think that's all I got.
Thanks, Madison.
Thanks, Brandon.
It even says in the big book, if we fail to enlarge our spiritual lives, we're sure to drink again. So just as either I'm increasing my spiritual awareness, my spiritual awakening, and growing and getting all these gifts, or I'm going to drink or use and die. So I better do this. And in my experience, what I've seen work for other people and work for me is that desire to keep seeking and to keep opening my mind and to keep looking for, to grow in my spiritual life. Because if I stay stagnant, I get bored, I get complacent, and I'm just doing the same things over and over again. And like you said, I end up in old behaviors, and I get focused on these kinds of external things that aren't really of much importance or value in the grand scheme of things. But when I'm focused on something spiritual, something beyond myself, not something that's self-seeking, then I'm generally much more content in my daily life. And it says here, regardless of worldly success or failure, regardless of pain or joy, a new life of endless possibilities can be lived, and that's regardless of all these outside circumstances. It's that spiritual part that I have to search for, and I don't even know what that means sometimes, but it's just the seeking of it, rather than actually finding it. That's where I think you find meaning.
That's good. It's really good. So it made me think of, the book telling us that, being sober is not enough. If alcohol was just a symptom of our disease, then being sober can only just be a part of the solution. We constantly have to grow. We constantly have to,
I like that.
do something different. And the book does say if we fail to enlarge a spiritual program, we won't be able to withstand the trials ahead, is what it says. And it made me think, because last night I went to a meeting, and this lady picked up, she celebrated 41 years sober. And she said that the last 4 months have been the hardest in her life than the 41 years that she's been sober. Her daughter passed away, her husband passed away. But what she said is that she continued to do the same things that she did her first 2 years sober. And she's okay. She doesn't know what's going on, really, but she's okay, and she doesn't want to drink. And she said it's just as important now to do the things that she did her first couple of years sober than ever before. She said, I think it's more important now that I do it than it was back then. And that was so crazy to me, because I want to, like, my disease tells me that, you know, at 41 years, I'll be good. You know what I mean?
One meeting a month, I'll be fine.
Yeah. And so it's crazy. And she said, you know, she went through, you know, and I know it says somewhere in the book, and I can't, no, I don't know where it's at. But, you know, through anything, we can be sober. You know, whether we're rich, whether we're poor, whether, you know, we're experiencing death, we can remain sober.
Yep.
And, you know, she pointed that out. And I think that's where the spiritual aspect of this program plays an even larger role.
Right.
You know, I've met plenty of people with a lot of time, and they weren't necessarily the happiest. The happiest alcoholics that I've met. You know, I hear some people in meetings, and, you know, they have 20 plus years, and, you know, we ask them for advice, and they're like, well, just put the plug in the jug. Like, I'm like, is that the best thing you got?
Where
The
they're
light in
sharing
the
about
eyes
putting
is
a gun
gone.
to their head.
Yeah, the light in, you know, the light in their eyes is completely gone. And I think that's a direct result of not working the spiritual program as outlined in the first 103 pages of the big book, that we have to stick to. And yeah, you know, I'm gonna resort back to old behaviors if I don't do this stuff, and then eventually I'll drink or I'll use. You know, I like shooting heroin too, so like, I'll eventually do that.
Guilty.
Yeah, and so I think that.
I like this better though.
Yeah, I like this a
like
lot
it.
better. Oh
Dope,
yeah.
It's a much better dope.
Yeah,
It's not,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, my life is so beautiful today, but it's a direct result of me putting the work into this spiritual program of action.
right.
And yeah,
Trusting God.
Clean house.
And help others.
Yeah.
I have to make sure that that I take responsibility for my own.
Yeah.
Right. For everything in my life,
mhm,
whether it was sane or not.
yeah,
I that was all me.
Yeah.
You know, so I got to clean house, make amends wherever I need to. Just be the best person that I can be, and trust in whatever I decided to trust in.
fair enough.
That's not me.
Yeah,
Sometimes that's really hard. It's really hard to put that work in sometimes, and sometimes it's hard to see that it's going to pay off. But I have to have faith that it is going to pay off. And every time I get to a trial, and I think, like, this is just not going to work out, but I put in the work, I'm always rewarded in the end.
yeah,
And it's even if I can't see it at the time, the more I do that, the more I realize that it is gonna, you know, I am gonna get through whatever the situation may be. But it takes, you know, it's not easy all the time, and it takes work. But the payoff is huge.
yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, Madison. Thank you, Josh. I don't know if you've heard something that strikes a chord with you, but if you're struggling, we encourage you to reach out. Go to detox2rehab.com. There's plenty of resources. There's a hotline. Call and talk to one of our addiction specialists. We thank you, and join us next week for more fun stuff.